Who the hell sends their ex a wedding invite like it's a save the date for emotional destruction? That was the first thing I said when I opened that stupid ivory envelope with gold trim. It came in the mail 3 weeks ago. No return address, just my name. Naomi Fields, written in that fake fancy calligraphy that screams, I paid someone to make this look expensive. I laughed at first. Like literally laughed out loud in my kitchen. Thought it was some kind of sick joke. But the second I saw his name, Dean Carter, my stomach dropped like I was back in that damn hospital hallway. Same feeling. Hollow. Cold. A little nauseous. Yeah, him. My ex. The man who dipped out of our life 3 years ago like a ghost with a LinkedIn. One morning I woke up and his closet was empty. He didn't even say goodbye to Harper, his daughter. Just left me a note saying I can't do this anymore. I need to breathe. WTF does that even mean? We had just lost the baby. 2 months before. He couldn't even hang through the grief. Said I was too sad, like mourning my own child was a fucking inconvenience. So he left. But that's not even the worst part. He didn't just leave me. He left Harper too. His kid from a previous relationship. She was only 11. And he knew I loved her like my own. I mean, I'd been raising her since she was 5. And you know what? She stayed. She chose me. That girl brushed my hair when I couldn't get out of bed. Made sandwiches when I forgot to eat. Held me together when I was too shattered to move. And now, this asshole wants to play house with someone new and invites me to watch. What kind of narcissist moves on like that and expects applause? I almost burned the invite. Swear to God. But Harper saw it first. She picked it up off the table and said, you should go. And I was like, for what? Free cake and emotional trauma. But she didn't flinch. She looked me straight in the eye. She's 16 now, way too wise for her age, and said, not for him. For you. So he can see what he gave up. Damn, I didn't even know what to say to that. And honestly, she was right. I had been hiding. Living like I was the one who messed everything up. Like I was some broken shell he left behind. But I wasn't. He left because he couldn't handle real life, real grief, real love that takes work. And I stayed. I rebuilt. It took 2 years of therapy ramen noodle dinners and designing logos for vape shops and divorce lawyers just to afford rent. But I did it. I launched my own freelance design biz. Harper got into a magnet school. We moved into a cozy little place with a crappy backyard I now low-key love. I started laughing again. At dumb memes. At dog videos. At Harper's horrible puns. Not all the time, but enough. So yeah, eventually I said yes. I was gonna show up not for him, but for me. For the girl he said was too broken. For the woman I became anyway. Uncle Ray drove us. He's not really my uncle, just my mom's old best friend who kind of raised me after she passed. He's got that no bullshit energy I needed. The kind who sees right through people. He never liked Dean. He smiles too easy. Eyes stay too still, he told me years ago. I should have listened. The wedding was at the Ridgemont Hotel, one of those gaudy Vegas-adjacent places that tries to look classy with chandeliers and gold toilets. Very money, but no soul vibe. Harper had taken a catering gig there. Said it was just a coincidence. Girl, please. She wore the little black apron and cap and swore she was only there for tips, but I knew better. She was watching. Protecting me the same way I used to tuck her in at night during thunderstorms. As soon as we pulled up, I wanted to puke. My hands were shaking so bad I almost couldn't open the car door. Uncle Ray reached over and just said, "You're not the ghost here. He is." And that grounded me more than anything else could have. I walked in head down heels, clicking on the marble floor, trying to pretend like I belonged. But here's the thing. I did. Because I wasn't that version of me anymore, the one sobbing on the bathroom floor, while debt collectors left voicemails and grief swallowed every hour. I was still standing. They couldn't take that from me. Last week, I stepped into that hotel ballroom like I was walking into a trap I saw coming, but still had to face. And the thing is, I looked good. Like, real good. New dress hair straightened a smoky eye that didn't scream revenge, but definitely whispered, "Remember me." I spotted Uncle Ray already seated in the back corner sipping club soda and looking unimpressed by every inch of the place. I slid into the seat next to him and took a deep breath. He gave me a small nod like, "You got this." And I did. Sort of. The room was ridiculous. White orchids, gold chandeliers, crystal everything. Napkins with monograms. I swear even the damn ice cubes had flair. It was exactly the kind of wedding Dean would want now that he's trying to sell this new perfect man fantasy. Like he could stage manage away his past. The guests were plastic. Not just in personality. Like literally so much Botox, I couldn't tell who was smiling and who was just permanently surprised. I tried not to look for him. Tried, but my eyes still found him. Dean Carter. Still smug. Still broad-shouldered. Still pretending to be someone deep. He was shaking hands, laughing like this was just another branding event. His tux fit perfectly, of course. The man always knew how to dress for optics. And then I saw her, Sloane Westbrook. The new wife. Or soon-to-be. Blonde. Gay, like model agency but make it hedge fund vibes. Everything on her was polished and shiny and screaming expensive. She moved through that room like she owned it. Leaned into Dean like she'd never had to fight for attention a day in her life. They looked perfect. At least if you were the kind of person who thought Instagram-filtered lives were goals. She didn't see me. Not yet. But I saw her. And I saw what this was. A stage. A fucking production. Carefully lit, meticulously curated, probably with a vendor list that cost more than my annual income last year. And I was the ghost in the back row invited as a plot device. An unspoken prop in their little fairy tale to make the happily ever after sparkle a little brighter. Whatever. I kept my face still and my hands folded, but my stomach was doing flips. The ceremony started. Some orchestral remix of a pop song played, probably Coldplay or some shit. Dean stood at the altar, smiling that tight smile he always used when he was nervous, but too prideful to admit it. Sloane walked in like she was entering a Vogue editorial. Her dress was fine. I mean, it probably cost more than my car, but whatever. Expensive doesn't equal unforgettable. They did the vows. Dean didn't flinch. His voice didn't shake. Said all the right things. Said forever like he meant it. I almost laughed. Dude couldn't last through 6 months of grief, but sure, let's try forever again. When they kissed, the crowd clapped like it was a standing ovation. I just took another sip of water. Didn't blink. Didn't flinch. Then the reception started. Champagne everywhere. People toasting, waiters gliding like choreographed dancers, a string quartet playing something pretentious. I sat still. Harper passed by with a tray of mini sliders. Our eyes met for half a second. She winked. "You good, Uncle Ray," whispered. Still breathing, I muttered. Then came the speeches. The best man, the maid of honor, some cousin, blah blah, all the usual crap. How Dean had grown, how Sloane made him better, how love is magic if you just believe hard enough. And then Sloane stood up. She had a champagne flute in one hand, her other arm looped around Dean's. Her eyes sparkled in the candlelight, but there was something sharp behind them. She looked around the room and then straight at me. I didn't expect that. She held her glass higher. "I just want to say something really quick," she said, all breathy and glowing like this was a goddamn rom-com finale. When I met Dean, he was broken. He had been through something really hard. Hurt by someone who didn't know how to love him right. Every inch of my skin went cold. Someone who couldn't see what a good man he is, she continued, laughing gently. And I'm just so grateful I was there to help him heal. To remind him what real love feels like. And the crowd, they laughed. Actually laughed. Like she'd made some amazing joke. People toasted. Glasses clinked. A few even nodded. I swear one woman mouthed "wow" like it was profound or something. I sat there jaw tight, heart slamming against my ribs. Uncle Ray leaned in. "Say the word and we're out." "No," I said. "Not yet." Because in that moment I wasn't angry. I was fuming. This woman didn't know a single damn thing about the man she married. She didn't know about the nights he cried because he thought he'd lose Harper. Or how I used to edit his resumes and write cover letters while he spiraled in job rejection depression. Or the time I sat outside a court hearing for him while pregnant waiting for a decision on custody. She didn't know about the ultrasound picture I buried in the back of my drawer, the one that never made it to the fridge. She didn't rescue him. She just walked in after the wreck and pretended she built the house. And that's when I saw movement near the kitchen. Slow. Intentional. Harper. She was walking forward past the tables, past the noise, holding her server cap in one hand, the other clenched. She stopped right near the head table. Everyone noticed. I held my breath. Then loud and clear she said, "I'm his daughter. And I have something to say." The room froze. I mean, full-on pause. You could hear the string quartet trailing off, like even they were like, what now? Sloane's face drained in real time. Her mouth stayed open, but nothing came out. Dean turned slowly, like he was trying to process whether this was actually happening. And Harper, that girl, stood like she'd trained her whole life for this. "I'm his daughter," she repeated. From before this perfect little story began. From the version of him that this woman doesn't want to exist. Dead silence. I was 11 when he left. Not just my mom. He left me. No phone calls, no texts. Just gone. Gasps. Actual gasps. She took a breath. Her voice shook, but she didn't back down. "The woman you called broken, she's the reason I made it through middle school. She's the one who fed me when we had $32 in the account. She's the one who stayed when he didn't." Dean tried to speak, but Harper held up a hand. "No, you don't get to talk. Not now." She turned to Sloane. "You think you saved him, sweetheart. He wasn't drowning. He jumped ship." People were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The entire energy of the room had flipped. I didn't move. I was locked in place, heart in my throat. Harper's voice cracked, but she kept going. "You don't get to rewrite our story just because you came in after the fallout. You didn't fix him. You got the version that didn't have to face consequences." And then she walked toward me. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She just reached for my hand. I stood. And in that moment, I wasn't the woman who got left. I was the one still standing next to a girl who chose me when her own father didn't. We turned and walked toward the exit. No one stopped us. No one dared. And behind me, I heard Dean's voice for the first time in 3 years. "Harper, wait." She didn't even turn around. Because he didn't wait for her. And now, she was done waiting for him. Outside the ballroom, the air hit different. Cooler. Sharper. Like the room had been some kind of pressure cooker, and stepping out cracked it open. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until I heard Harper exhale next to me, loud and shaky, but solid. She clutched my hand like it was a damn anchor. We didn't speak at first, just kept walking. Our heels clicked against marble floors as murmurs from inside the ballroom started to grow. The crowd wasn't clapping anymore. The only music playing now was the sound of rich people trying to figure out if they should pretend that never happened or check Twitter. We'd almost reached the front lobby when the sound hit us heels. Fast ones. Then her voice. "Wait." I stopped. Not because I wanted to. Reflex, maybe. Years of swallowing my reactions had wired me that way. Harper turned first, her expression already locked in that teenager mix of "I dare you" and "try me." Sloane. Marching toward us in her designer heels dress, flowing like a goddamn hurricane, face, red mascara slightly smeared. And for the first time that night, she didn't look like the untouchable golden girl. She looked pissed and scared. "You can't just do that," she snapped. "You can't hijack my wedding like that." Harper didn't blink. "Why not?" "Because it's my day. You humiliated us." I tilted my head. "You mean like when you publicly called me a broken woman and basically claimed credit for fixing my ex?" Sloane blinked, thrown off for a second. She looked between us like she was waiting for someone to step in and defend her. No one came. "I didn't know he had a daughter," she said, voice shrill now. "That's not my fault." "You didn't ask," Harper said flatly. Sloane opened her mouth again, but no words came out. Just air and entitlement. Then Dean appeared behind her, no longer smiling. His tux was slightly rumpled, now tie askew, and he looked human. Like someone who finally realized the train had left the station and he wasn't on it. "Harper," he said softly. "Please, I didn't mean for any of this." She turned on him. Calm, cold. "Which part? Me being born, you abandoning me? Or sitting there letting her call my mom damaged like you didn't benefit from everything she gave you?" Dean's face crumpled a little. Not dramatically, but enough. "I thought I was protecting you," he said, barely audible. Harper laughed. "Not the funny kind. The kind that slices. You thought disappearing was protection." He didn't answer, just stared at her. Then at me. Our first eye contact in 3 years. "I was broken," he said, "and I almost lost it right there." The way he said it, like it explained everything. Like it excused the nights I cried alone, the calls I made to his silent number, the bills I couldn't pay. I was broken too, I said quietly. But I didn't leave. That landed. I saw it hit him. He looked like he might cry. I didn't care. I felt clear, not angry, not even righteous. Just done. Harper looked at him and shook her head slowly. You know what I used to tell myself, that you were dead. That maybe you got hit by a car or had a heart attack. Because the truth that you were alive and just didn't care hurt worse. Dean's eyes glossed over. He looked down. And then Harper did something I didn't expect. She stepped forward and said, I forgive you. His head snapped up. Not for you, she added quickly. For me. Because carrying your absence is exhausting. I'm tired. I'm done. You can carry it now. Dean looked like he wanted to reach for her. He didn't. Instead, she turned to me, grabbed my hand again, and just said, let's go. We walked away. No yelling, no more drama. Just a daughter choosing her mother. Right as we were pushing through the big glass doors, Sloane blurted out, so what now? You just wreck our wedding and act like we're the bad guys. Harper didn't even turn. You wrecked it when you built it on lies. And I added without missing a beat, if you wanted a perfect story, maybe don't marry someone who ghosted his own kid. We stepped into the night. The drizzle had started, a soft mist hanging in the air. The parking lot shimmered under the hotel lights, raindrops tapping on the windshield of Uncle Ray's car like tiny exclamation points. He was waiting by the car, saw us, didn't say a word, just opened the door like he'd been expecting that ending all along. We got in wet curls sticking to Harper's cheek. She wiped her face, but it wasn't tears, just rain. You okay? I asked quietly. She looked at me, eyes tired but steady. I wasn't gonna let her humiliate you. Not after everything. You didn't have to. Yes, I did, she cut in. You saved me. It was time I returned the favor. And I couldn't speak. I just stared at her. At this incredible, fierce, brilliant girl. And I thought he may have left us. But he didn't win. We pulled away from the hotel headlights slicing through the drizzle. Behind us, the Ridgewood Grand got smaller and smaller until it was nothing but a glowing blur in the mirror. The next morning, I woke up to 46 text messages. Apparently, someone had recorded Harper's speech. One of the guests, maybe more. Someone uploaded it to LinkedIn with the caption, Waitress shuts down bride's insult with absolute truth bomb. It went viral. Like actual viral. Comments from strangers. Shares from other single moms. Messages from women saying, I saw myself in that. I didn't post anything, didn't comment. I didn't need to. We'd lived it. Sloane's PR team tried to spin it as a private family moment taken out of context. That only made it worse. Someone found Dean's old parenting blog from a decade ago before he bailed and started stitching receipts together. The internet does not play when it smells bullshit. I heard from someone at the hotel that Sloane left early. Canceled the honeymoon. Packed up her stuff within the week. Whether they stayed together or not, don't know, don't care. This story was never about them. It was about us, me and Harper. And what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you leave and you build yourself anyway. Things shifted after that. Quietly. No confetti, no announcement. Just little things. Harper started walking taller. She didn't apologize for taking up space. She started journaling again, then podcasting. She called it Raised by the Ones Who Stayed. I cried the first time I heard the intro. And me. I started writing too. It began as notes. Fragments. Then one night I posted an essay on a parenting blog. About grief. About rebuilding. About what it means to stay. It got picked up. Comments poured in. Other women said thank you. I thought I was alone. That turned into a blog, then into a workshop, then into a nonprofit. I called it The Second Thread, a space for women like me, not just to survive, but to speak, loudly. One night, I was washing dishes. Harper sat at the counter, flipping through her notebook, her legs swinging. She looked up and said, totally out of nowhere, you know, I used to wish my real mom had stayed. I froze. Then she added, but now I get it. Maybe she left so I could end up with you. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just dried my hands, walked over and hugged her like I could hold that moment forever. Because she was right. Sometimes life rips chapters out of your story, leaves you bleeding. But sometimes, the rewrite is better, and you don't need anyone's permission to start again. A few days after the wedding, everything started to settle, but not really. Harper's clip was still bouncing around the internet, and it had gone from viral moment to something else entirely. Think reaction videos. Reddit threads titled, "That viral wedding speech wasn't just drama, it was truth." And even a podcast episode from some therapist breaking down emotional abandonment in modern families. I mean, Harper's voice was being dissected by strangers like she was a character on a prestige drama. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't mess with my head a little. People I hadn't talked to in years started crawling out of the woodwork. Old college roommates, ex-coworkers. Even my former boss, the one who let me go after my miscarriage because I was bringing the mood down, sent a message. "Just saw what your daughter said. Powerful. Hope you're well. Screw you, Karen." But the ones that hit different, the other women. Moms. Daughters. Women who'd been left behind. Women who had stayed. Messages like, "I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that. You just told my story and didn't even know it. I thought I was crazy for still hurting after 10 years. Now I feel seen." And that's when it clicked for me. This wasn't just my story anymore. It belonged to a lot of people, maybe too many. Still, it wasn't some fairy tale fix. There were weird days. Low ones. Guilt slipped in like it always does, quiet and casual. Like, did I do the right thing by showing up? Was that Harper's moment? Or did I make it about me? Should I have let Sloan talk? Then I'd snap out of it, usually after Harper handed me tea and a reality check. One night, she came into my room while I was doom scrolling, sat at the edge of my bed and said, "Hey, you're not the villain. You're the evidence." What? You didn't ruin their wedding. You just reminded everyone what he tried to bury. That girl has a way of sucker punching you with truth when you least expect it. After that, I gave up on pretending I wasn't impacted. Let the grief in again, but this time with boundaries. I let myself write not just for the blog, but for me. Stuff I'd buried so deep it practically had cobwebs. Letters I never sent. Journals I never finished. Pain I never said out loud because I didn't want to sound bitter or make people uncomfortable. I wrote about the day I found Dean's duffel bag packed under the bed. About how I held it in my lap for 20 minutes before realizing he wasn't just going on a trip, he was leaving us. About the voicemail I left him the night after. I just said, "She asked why you didn't kiss her goodnight." I didn't know what to say. He never called back. I wrote about what it felt like to lie for him. To tell Harper he was traveling for work when I hadn't seen a paycheck from him in months. To wrap birthday gifts in old tissue paper and pretend they were from Dad. To keep hope alive in a house full of echoes. It wasn't pretty, but it was honest. Meanwhile, Harper was doing her own healing, louder than mine, but just as deep. She kept working that catering job, and every time someone recognized her, she smiled and said, "Thanks for watching." Then, she went right back to carrying trays of bruschetta like a pro. One night, she came home and said a woman tipped her $200 and whispered, "For your mama." We both cried over takeout that night. Then she launched the podcast. She didn't tell me at first, just came downstairs one Saturday and said, "Hey, I made a thing. Want to hear it?" The first episode started with a clip from the wedding, just her voice. She didn't break him. He broke himself. And she stayed. Then her voice cut in casual but steady. "Welcome to Raised by the Ones Who Stayed. I'm Harper Fields, and this is for anyone who's ever been left behind and still built something beautiful." I lost it. Just ugly cried in the kitchen like a Hallmark meltdown. She released a new episode every week, stories from listeners, mini monologues about healing, even interviews with therapists. And it wasn't fluffy. It was raw. She talked about abandonment, self-worth, and the weird shame of loving someone who failed you. One episode was just called "The Day I Realized I Was Enough." That one hit hard. Meanwhile, the second thread started picking up steam. My little side project had turned into a thing: weekly writing circles, a Facebook group full of women sharing pieces of their broken stories, workshops on rebuilding. We weren't just venting. We were witnessing each other. One of our early members was this woman named Joelle, mid-40s, left by her husband after 18 years when he found himself through ayahuasca and yoga instructors. She'd never spoken about it publicly before, but after the third session, she stood up and read a letter she wrote to the woman who replaced her. No rage, no insult. Just, I hope you love the version of him I built. And every woman in that room felt that. You could hear sniffles between paragraphs. You could feel the weight of years lifting just a little. That's what we were doing. Not revenge, reclamation. Every time someone said, I thought it was just me, I knew we were doing something right. And then, out of nowhere, I got a letter. Like an actual envelope. No name on the return address. Just mine on the front in shaky handwriting I didn't recognize at first. It was from Dean's mom. We hadn't spoken since the day he left. She'd always been distant with me, cordial but cold. Never really treated Harper like a full grandkid. But the letter, it surprised me. It wasn't long, just a page, but it said more than she ever had in person. I watched the video. I wish I could say I didn't know, but I did. I just hoped he'd change. I'm sorry you had to carry what he dropped. You did better than we deserved. And at the bottom, if Harper ever wants to talk, I'd like to try again. I sat with that for a while, showed it to Harper. She read it, then handed it back and said I might call her. Not because I owe her, but because I want her to see who I became. And that's when I realized something. We weren't just healing. We were leading. Not loud, not flashy, but real. Through blog posts, podcast episodes, small circles of women sitting in folding chairs with tissues and tea. Through every Me Too, every same here, every nod that said you're not alone. We were telling a story that didn't end with the leaving. It ended with the staying, with the building, with the deciding that survival was never the goal, sovereignty was. And for the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't chasing closure. I was creating legacy. A few weeks later, I was standing in the kitchen waiting for my coffee to brew when Harper came downstairs in her pajama shorts, earbuds in, eyes locked on her phone. She dropped her bag by the door, made a beeline for the fridge, and said without looking up, we got invited to a panel. I blinked. Panel. Yep, she grabbed a yogurt, popped the top, and finally looked up. Some university in Oregon. Feminist studies thing. They want us to speak. Like, together. I almost laughed. You sure they meant us, like me with my undercooked blog, and you with your podcast that still records in your closet? Harper raised an eyebrow. Mom, you literally founded a nonprofit that helps women find their voice. You hosted 3 sold-out story nights. They definitely meant you. I paused. Processing. Then, wait, did they say paid or volunteer? She grinned. Paid. Travel and hotel, too. Okay, universe. I see you. I don't remember what I did the rest of that day, probably answered emails or meal prepped or stress cleaned the bathroom, but I remember exactly how I felt like the floor under my life had shifted again, but this time upward. Like I wasn't clawing my way out anymore. I was climbing into something I built. So 2 weeks later, we flew to Oregon. The campus was full of those students who speak in critical theory and wear combat boots with floral skirts. It was weirdly comforting. Harper blended right in. The panel was in a bright, echoey auditorium. There were 5 of us, writers, activists, 1 therapist, and us. We sat in folding chairs on a tiny stage while the moderator asked questions like, how do you reclaim your identity after being erased? When it was my turn, I didn't have anything rehearsed. I just told the truth. I stopped waiting for an apology, I said, and started writing the parts of my story that only I could tell. Even the ugly ones. Especially the ugly ones. The room went still. One girl in the front row had tears in her eyes. Another was recording. Harper leaned in during the next question and whispered, "You're killing it." After the panel, someone brought flowers. We signed some programs. Took awkward selfies. And then one woman approached me, mid-50s, tired eyes, but kind. She said I didn't come for the panel. I came for you. I saw your daughter's video. I was in a marriage like that. Left after 23 years. You gave me words I didn't know I needed. She hugged me. I froze for a second, then hugged back. That was the first time I felt what people meant when they say, your pain can be someone else's permission. We flew home the next day. Harper passed out mid-flight. I sat next to her phone, off brain buzzing. I wasn't thinking about Dean. Not really. Not about Sloan either. I was thinking about all the women still sitting at their own empty tables, listening to someone toast the people who left them. And I just hoped they knew, really knew, that staying silent isn't the same as being powerless. The week after we got back, I got a message. Dean. Not a call, not a letter. A freaking LinkedIn message. Hey. I know a lot has happened. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what I did. I wasn't ready to face everything, and that's on me. You were always stronger than me. Hope you're okay. No punctuation, no real substance, just an attempt, a ripple. I stared at it for maybe a minute. Then I hit archive. Not block, not reply, just archive. Because I didn't need anything from him anymore. I didn't need validation from the man who left when life got hard. I didn't need closure from someone who only looked backward when the internet forced him to. That chapter was closed, burned, buried. I was in the sequel now. That same week, Harper's podcast hit 100,000 downloads. She hit me with a stat sheet like it was her Spotify Wrapped. Mom, we have listeners in 19 countries. She high-fived me with a mouthful of granola bar. We decided to throw a small community event, something local. We called it The Rewrite. Just a casual storytelling night in the back room of a coffee shop we loved. No big sponsors, no merch. Just a mic, tea, and women who had something to say. The first one had maybe 30 people. Second one, double that. By the third, we had people sitting on the floor crying into paper napkins, while strangers told the kind of stories that never get posted with a cute caption. Stories like, I helped raise my ex's kid for 10 years. Then, when we broke up, I never saw her again. Not even a goodbye. I still sleep with her baby photo in my wallet. Or, my dad called me selfish for not going to his wedding. I told him I wasn't going because the woman he was marrying helped cover up my assault when I was 16. He still went through with it. These weren't sad girl stories. They were survival stories. Resistance stories. Truth with teeth stories. And people kept coming back. Because once you hear someone else say the thing you were afraid to say out loud, it opens a door inside you. And once it's open, you can't go back. We started getting emails asking when the next event was. We started mailing out zines, just printouts of some stories, quotes, resources. A newsletter, nothing fancy. But every single one got read. Then one night, Harper came into the kitchen while I was baking banana bread for the next meetup. She held out her phone and said Dean's wedding got written up in some business magazine. I blinked. Why? He's being considered for some city grant, for his branding firm. They spun the whole wedding speech thing as a moment of emotional vulnerability that sparked online dialogue. I stared at her. You're kidding. Nope. She looked at me, waiting to see if I'd spiral. I didn't. I just shrugged. Let them write whatever they want. They didn't see the fallout. They didn't watch you speak truth with nothing but a server cap and a shaking voice. She nodded. Still kinda gross, though. Deeply, I agreed. But here's the thing, I didn't care. Like, genuinely didn't. Because Dean could keep curating his life like a Pinterest board. Sloan could keep reposting filtered pictures of their kitchen Reno. They could write their own narrative for the public. But we weren't in that story anymore. We weren't extras in their script. We were writing something entirely new, unfiltered, messy, gut honest. And every day more people joined us, told their stories, took up space. People who had been cropped out of family portraits, ghosted by partners, shamed by churches, written out of wills. People who had names, voices, histories. People who had been told, you're too emotional. And who finally realized that being emotional is not a weakness, it's evidence. It means you were there. You lived it. You felt it. And now, you're telling it.